I am a certified kettlebell teacher from Steve Cutter's IKFF, and I want to share with you 10 things I wish I knew when I started kettlebell training. Grüezi miteinander, Gregory from Lebe here. Let's dive right into it. Number one of the 10 things I wish I knew when I started kettlebell training is proper swing form. You probably know the double-handed swing as the kettlebell swing, and I agree because it's the most known. Everybody talks about it. You see it on Instagram, on YouTube, and all coaches teach it. However, I believe if you have never done the hand-to-hand swing, you have never done the kettlebell swing efficiently. Let me explain. The hand-to-hand swing enables you to get that awesome and the proper arm-body connection. And if you get that arm-body connection right, then you will efficiently and intensively train your glutes and your hamstrings and your core. This is what the kettlebell swing is designed for. If you keep doing the double-handed swing, then you don't get that same arm-body connection. So just give it a try. Try the hand-to-hand swing version versus the double-handed swing, and then you will probably feel that you will get this pendulum, this swing pendulum. You really get this with the hand-to-hand swing. If you keep feeling that your lower back is hurting and you put a strain on it, in the beginning it is normal, because for most of us, the lower back is the weakest link in the chain, and we always tend to feel the weakest link in the chain no matter what body part we're training or no matter what exercise we are doing. However, if this back pain, or let's say this strain and this muscle soreness keeps coming back and it doesn't get away, and you always feel your lower back, then it's probably a good sign that you're not doing it correctly. And I wish I knew this before, because I always thought, well, this is how the kettlebell swing is supposed to feel like. And if you believe the kettlebell swing is supposed to work your arms and your lower back only, then you probably miss the exercise. Number two, the wrist banging. When you do the kettlebell clean, you always get a certain bang on the wrist, no matter what weight you are using and no matter what kettlebell you are using. I got this quote from Steve Cutter and I really dig it. Discomfort forces us to grow, and pain tells us that we've probably gone too far. So if you keep feeling a little discomfort on your arm because the weight or your bone and your skin and the soft tissues have to adapt to the kettlebell, then it's okay. But this is supposed to go away, and the banging on the wrist is not supposed to stay. This is not normal. And I wish I knew this. I always thought, okay, well, that's part of the clean. And so that's probably one of the reasons why I didn't do the clean very much in the beginning. And it's probably the reason why many people feel like, okay, this is not a very cool exercise. So they look for different versions, even though the clean is one of the best exercises and one of the staples of kettlebell training. The banging has everything to do with the proper so-called hand insertion. Hand insertion means that the kettlebell has to always switch, and it depends on the exercise. But when we talk about the clean, the kettlebell has to switch between a so-called finger grip, where you grip the kettlebell in your fingers, no connection to your palm, and the so-called hook grip, where the kettlebell rests approximately on this place, and it doesn't have no contact with your palm. It just hangs right here below. Another major reason why probably so many people keep this banging or have this problem with the kettlebell banging on the wrist is you have to go into a so-called low swing. Don't use too much power of your hips or your glutes and hamstrings to kettlebell the kettlebell into the acceleration pull and then the hand insertion, because if you do and it loops too hard, then it automatically slams on your wrist. And you always want to make sure that you pull the kettlebell up and then you slide into it. You don't flip it over. And if you keep flipping the kettlebell over, it always bangs. So if you do proper technique and you work on your hand insertion, then the banging is supposed to disappear. Number three, deciding for Girevoy sport in the beginning. Well, I actually did this, thankfully. The kettlebell originated in Russia, in Eastern countries in Europe, so that's where it came from. in the 1700s, I think. And 1960 was probably the year where the first organization formed and where kettlebell lifting was kind of organized as a sport. The reason why you see that the traditional way of kettlebell training is so rarely seen is because it is so nuanced to learn. It takes a lot of coaching, a lot of patience, and a lot of dedication to learn all the nuances for kettlebell training or for the Girevoy sport. Whereas in hardstyle, you just rip it and grip it. So that's probably one of the things that I want to share is we represent the Girevoy sport. This is how we believe the kettlebell is supposed to be worked with. So go for that style. I believe this brings you the most value. Number 4, treating the kettlebell like a dumbbell. The kettlebell in its form is different from dumbbells or barbells. In its purest form, it is made for ballistic exercises. That said, it doesn't mean that you cannot do grinding lifts, for example, a deadlift, a press, or one of the most famous kettlebell lifts ever, the Turkish get-up. Of course you can do these lifts, and we even advise to put them in your program. However, the kettlebell was designed to do ballistic stuff with it. And even when you incorporate the grinding lifts, there are some exercises that for example, the kettlebell curl, kettlebell triceps extensions, and we talked about these 2 exercises in a previous video. I believe these are totally useless and you'd rather do them with dumbbells. Why use a certain style of equipment in a certain way that is not the most efficient? This is just a question that I'm asking. So if you want to do kettlebell curls, do it. But I believe if you want to train the kettlebell, or you even buy a kettlebell and you have dumbbells at home and you do all these dumbbell exercises with a kettlebell, then you've probably spent money on something that you don't need. So this is where I'm trying to go. We recently did a marathon. We did 60 minutes of work without putting the kettlebell down. This is something you can only do with kettlebells because they're made in that style to be ballistic. And this is a totally different vibe and a totally different workout that you're getting. Number 5, patience is the key. This is something that I really came to love. When I look at my way of training, my style, my technique, only from 6 months ago, I can see a huge difference. You just have to be patient because, for example, a snatch takes almost an eternity to learn. Just to give you some perspective, Denis Vasiliev is one of the most technical advanced lifters, kettlebell lifters ever, and he even holds like 8 world records. In a recent Instagram post, he says, I'm still working on my overhead top fixation technique in the snatch. And if a dude that's been working for 20 years with kettlebells says that, this means that this type of training or these types of exercises, to master them, to get a hold of them, takes a lot of time and patience. Don't rush it. You don't need heavy stuff, because if you do it right, or you use a kettlebell for the first time, 16 kilo is heavy. Even 12 kilo is heavy, depending on the exercise you're doing. So take your time, be patient, and grow with the kettlebell as you grow. And always remember that these Girevoy sport lifts, if you do them in the Russian way, they are very nuanced. So take your time. Number 6, investing in competition kettlebells. If you buy kettlebells, go for the competitions because they're all the same diameter, they're all the same sizes, but different weight. So what that means is if you keep working with the kettlebell and then you develop your technique and then you go heavier, then the technique and the style won't change, but the weight changes. There will be more demands on your energy levels and your brain to handle that stuff. And if you have to adapt your technique as well because the kettlebell changes in size, then you'll probably miss out on a good opportunity to just keep working according to the law of exercise. And there's so many different kettlebells, and we don't advise using any of them except the competitions. Same size, but different weights. And that shows you, and that goes to show, once you master these lifts, you can increase with the weight and still feel good because you've mastered the technique. Number 7, you will develop your own style and your own form. Even if you follow all the rules and all the guidelines and you have all the information of those lifts and the phases, and you practice them and you perfect them and they feel good, and your style looks different than mine or anybody else, that's totally fine. First of all, we are different. That's one thing that you can consider. And the second thing is anthropometrics. If you have somebody who is a giant lifting kettlebells and you believe, well, he looks totally or she looks totally different than me, then you cannot apply that style to your style, because first of all, you're different, and second of all, your anthropometrics are probably different. If you're smaller in size like I am, I cannot look at how giants lift and then try to incorporate their form. And what you can also remember is that sometimes even athletes have horrible form, especially when they go for a world record or for a heavy set where they try to crank out as many reps as possible. And then you tune in, you see the last minute of that set and you see a crazy horrible form and you believe, well, that's the way to go. No, it is not. But this athlete is trying to crank out as many reps as possible. Form is not as important anymore. So always keep that in mind. Your form will always be unique, even if you follow all the guidelines. What we see even with our clients is we have 6 people doing the kettlebell hand-to-hand swing, and they all got perfect technique. They work awesome. They can use heavy weight. It feels good. It feels nice. They're in the zone, and it still looks different, which is totally fine. Number 8, be careful with the YouTube University and social media in general. You hear this from a dude who's on YouTube himself. We love YouTube and we love sharing information. That said, you have to be careful who you listen to on YouTube, what you see on social media. And again, I say this often, don't take everything at face value except you know it comes from a credible source. And even then, like I mentioned in the last point, try to incorporate that information in your own lifts, in your own style, in your own exercises, in your own workout, in your own way of training, and see if it fits. Some things may work for you and other things may not work for you. That's just the way it is. That's part of being a human being. And on YouTube and social media in general, you have a lot of misinformation. When you hear or see something, try to return to a credible source that you really trust, that has a track record and that has something behind it that shows, okay, this person is not just somebody who just jumped on YouTube, quit their day job and just wants to do fitness because they don't like their day job anymore and they want to make money on YouTube. I wouldn't even say that you should just listen to one source, listen to as many sources as possible, but always, if something doesn't make sense and it looks strange to your eye, you can ask a question. And just because something looks strange to your eye doesn't mean that it is the wrong way to do it. This is also, you see how nuanced this is, and this is what I love it. That's just part of life. On YouTube in general, always keep that guideline that you can listen, and you always have to watch out because many folks out there just want to get your money. And many folks are working hard to be able to quit their day job to make it on YouTube. Therefore, they will do everything, or even on Instagram. Therefore, they will do everything that looks popular, that is popular, and they will follow everything and everyone and put everything on social just to get ahead. There's a saying that goes, anything for the gram. So that means so many people do anything just to stand out on Instagram to make it, so to speak. So always check the source and make sure it is credible. Number 9, when it comes to your workout structure, 4 time beats reps and sets. I'm coming from the traditional way of lifting, machines, barbells, dumbbells. When you come from a traditional background, then you think, okay, everything that I've learned in the traditional way of training, I have to apply on the kettlebell or another equipment as well. And then you say, okay, I do 10 deadlifts for 3 sets, or I do 10 clean and presses for 2 sets. And what I believe works better is the time aspect, the competition method. I do one exercise, for example, a clean and press, and I do it for 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 1 arm switch, 3 arm switch, no arm switch, whatever. If you come from a traditional background, you probably believe, okay, I have to do 10 exercises to go full body. What this causes is maybe somehow a distorted view on the kettlebell, because, for example, if you do a clean and press, you work your whole body. It's one exercise. You do a snatch, you work your whole body. You do a Turkish get up, you work your whole body. So you don't need that many exercises, and you don't need to put them in sets and reps, because this may confuse you, and we're speaking from experience here. We always see that people tend to be confused when there are many exercises with multiple rep ranges. This can be confusing, and if your mind is confused, you're not able to learn as efficiently as possible. I promise you, and that's something that Steve Carter told me, and it really is true. Once you've mastered the basics, which are hard to learn and which are very nuanced, you master everything else easily. The final point, warm up or proper mobility is key. I used to think, coming from a traditional background, that warming up is just jumping on the treadmill and getting my heart rate up. But now I differentiate. When I'm talking about a warm-up, I differentiate the warm-up into two categories. First of all, we have mobility, that's the first category, and the second one is the dynamic warm-up. And this is where you get your heart rate up. So I've realized how important mobility and stretching is, because why? We work like this, and we do like this, and we sit like this. What that causes is your muscles get tight and other muscles get loose and weak, and that causes imbalances, and that can cause pain. And I got this great statement from Functional Movement Systems, FMS: move well before moving often. And I would even go a step further and say, move well with your own body before moving often under load. And I've recognized in those recent months and years that mobilizing your body is key before going heavy. I didn't think about this at first, but now even with the kettlebell, using ballistics, using your whole body, mobility is a key element to training intensively, training efficiently, working out hard, and staying safe and injury-free, and being able to do the exercises the way they were designed to do. Thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, like the video. If you want to see more of this kettlebell stuff, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and leave a comment, because this really helps out the YouTube channel, and it helps the algorithm to detect, okay, that stuff is interesting, we got to push it out to more people. And the reason why we want to push it out to more people is because we love the kettlebell. There's a huge passion that we have for kettlebell that we want to share with everybody. So do it, and even share this video with your friends. I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.